I was really questioning myself. And I was looking on Google. I was really bored. I was like, okay, what am I going to do today? I'm so bored. It's sitting in this hostel in Istanbul by myself. And it said touristy things. And the top thing on the list was Blue Mosque. Hagia Sophia was not open at the time. I was like, a mosque, really? Like, out of all the touristy things to do in a country, like go and visit a mosque? I was like, fine. Like, if this is the only thing I can do, then I'll give it a go, inshallah. And is my connection okay, by the way? Because it's a bit choppy here.
Yeah.
It's good, yeah, okay. So I went and brought a hijab because I come from an acting background, right? So I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna go in this place, then I have to at least kind of look the part. So I went and brought a hijab actually that looks like this style because it's an easy to wear one, and I didn't know at the time. And I went into a shop and I was like, hey, I'm not a Muslim, but I'm just going to do a touristy thing. I'm just so bored. Can you give me a mosque? I don't want to go in. Can you give me a hijab? I don't want to go in the mosque and people shout at me and be like, get out of this mosque. You're not wearing a hijab and all this kind of stuff. She was like, oh no, it's not going to be like that. I was like, really? Like, come on. I had really bad perceptions of Muslims. I was like, come on, you guys are so angry. Like, seriously, this is like what I thought in my head, right? Because in the Western media, it portrays this image of just kind of angry man, and this kind of violent attitude. This is what I thought it was. So I was genuinely nervous to go in for the first time. I got this hijab and I put the hijab on in a Cafe Nero right next to the shop. And I walked from the Cafe Nero all the way to Blue Mosque wearing the hijab. And I knew nothing about Islam. Like, I didn't know anything. I was just doing a touristy thing. I was just bored. And I walked all the way there wearing this hijab, and people were looking at me differently. And I was like, this is so strange. People were, it just feels so different. Before that, I was wearing like high heel boots. I was trying to get attention. And then all of a sudden I'm wearing like sweats and I'm wearing a hijab and I'm just being a bit more invisible. But people who do look at me, they look at me in a different way. Like it's a kind of a loving way, because they thought I was a Muslim, right? They thought, oh, look, there's a girl wearing hijab. It's that kind of sisterhood, brotherhood kind of like style of, if someone looks at you, it's a bit like, assalamu alaikum. Like, it's that kind of like, oh, look, there's another Muslim. I feel that connection. I feel that peace and love, which, you know, as Muslims, whenever you see a Muslim walk down the street, you do feel that, assalamu alaikum. Like, that kind of home feeling of, oh, it's another Muslim. It's that warm sort of home feeling. And people were looking at me so differently. And I was just so shocked by that. And as an actor, I do think you're kind of aware of how people are looking at you and the energy they're giving you in a way. Like, are they looking at you because they're kind of like, oh, like in a lustful way? Are they looking at you in like a respectful way, a loving way? You can feel that energy. So I went to the mosque and I nearly didn't go in. I was really scared. I was looking at it from the outside. I was like, this is so big and this is so alien to me. This is so, the style is so what the Western media portrays as scary. It's what I've been seeing as scary for such a long time. But I remember going in and I was sweating. I was so nervous to go inside. I was like, what's going to happen inside this place? And I kind of grouped on to the end of some people that were walking in, and I kind of walked in with them. And I got inside and I was like, what? It was so quiet. Even though there was tourists, there's like a touristy area where tourists go through. It was so quiet and I could see people praying in front of me. There's like a barrier and then there's like a little bit of a men's prayer section. So you can see like the men praying. And I was just so interested in the way they were praying, the way they were going down on the floor and putting their head on the floor, but they were so quiet. It was like that kind of meditation, but more than meditation. There was no singing, there was no dancing, there was no show. It was very private. It was like a very private worship that was very quiet and personal and intimate. And I really liked that. And I sat by one of the pillars and I was just watching for ages. And then I noticed somebody was doing dhikr. They had those dhikr beads. And I actually had some dhikr beads in my pocket because I'd noticed people doing them in Turkey, and I Googled it and it had told me it was stress beads. I was like, this is so cool. I like this anxiety stress beads thing. I had anxiety. So I was like, yeah, I brought some. And I noticed people in the mosque were doing it. I was like, why is everyone coming into the mosque and using their stress beads? Like, this is so random. So I re Googled it this time and I was like, Muslims beads. And then it came up with what it was. And it said, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I sat there and I did tasbih with my beads, looking at my phone, trying to remember it, saying Alhamdulillah, and then forgetting it and having Alhamdulillah and doing it. Allahu Akbar and doing it. And I did it for like a good, maybe an hour. I even got to a point where I just closed my eyes and I was just like, like a pro Muslim doing tasbih. And I just did it for ages. And I really felt emotional and I really felt connected. And I really wasn't expecting it because I was not looking for religion. I was literally just bored going into a mosque. And it was one of the most transformative and emotional experiences for me. And as I was leaving the mosque, I was about to pick up a Quran, but I didn't. And I left the mosque. I was like, no, just because you have one transformative experience doesn't mean you start looking into a religion. That was my mindset.